from there. If I could ask everyone to put their microphones on mute for just now, and I haven't planned to do any interactive things today, but there may be a chance for us all to do a bit of discussion at the end. Because yeah, this month's webinar has been a bit funny to create. So I've got a couple of ideas for the community for the monthly themes that have been in my mind for months, but I never like to set them until it feels right. And this month, I think, with it being a new year, there was just something about finding this inner peace that I thought was quite a nice theme for us all to explore. But actually creating the webinar this month, I found it a really interesting experience because I feel like this is a really important topic in many respects. You know, there's a lot, of course, going on both globally as well as in many people's individual lives at the moment. And I feel finding this inner peace within us to help us ride the waves of what's going on in life, and of course incorporating that into our photography, I just think is a really important thing at the moment. And of course, finding inner peace is always something worth exploring and feeling into, but it just seems very potent at the moment and something that I just felt really called to do this month. So I guess because I feel it's so important, it's almost been, sorry, I just need to let somebody in. There we go. Because it's been yeah, such an important thing, I think, that's come to me. It's almost been like trying to navigate how to create this. So the presentation today is not actually that long or as long as normal, but I have probably a number of things I want to share around the themes that I'll be bringing up today. So probably quite a thought-provoking webinar this month in some respects, and it'll be interesting to see what comes out of it as you all explore the theme for the remainder of January. So the kind of themes I'll be looking into a little bit today. First of all, I'm just going to share a little bit with you about the beginning of a new year, and I guess what that represents and how this finding inner peace can help us with navigating the year ahead. We'll very briefly look into, what peace is and why it's important. And of course, I'm sure you're all kind of aware of this already, but it's just to refresh our memory and think a bit deeper into that. Then we'll look a little bit into how we can actually find this inner peace within ourselves before moving on to ideas such as photographing your place of peace, the feeling we get when looking at peaceful imagery, because it doesn't always have to be about us creating images, it's about what the images we've already created or the images that we see out and about, how they can evoke peace within us. And then we'll speak a bit more about creating your own peaceful photographs to go along with this month's theme. And something that came up in one of the catch-ups recently was there's a lot of maybe stuff going on in the environment and in our local areas that, with photographers and other people maybe not respecting nature or understanding how to deal with certain wildlife issues and stuff like that. And it just got me really thinking about how we can really embody peace so that we can participate in causes that we're passionate about and be able to maybe make a difference within them. And this is something we've been discussing a little bit on the group as well. And I just felt with the relevance of what we're speaking about and how maybe this sense of peace can play into it, it would be a nice place to end today's webinar. So, of course, as we're all aware, we've just began 2024, and at the start of every year, I guess we all start to reflect on what we maybe hope for the year ahead. And last month's theme was about us very much reflecting on 2023, what we'd learnt, what photographs we'd created, what memories we've made. And through doing that, we were able to really have an appreciation for the year just past, see what we've explored photographically. And in the back of our mind, there probably would have been many of us considering where we want to take our photography and also our life experience and everything moving into 2024. And something that often happens at the beginning of a new year is, of course, people have this often renewed energy after the festivities. They get excited about maybe setting New Year's resolutions or thinking about what they want to do or achieve this year. And sometimes people can begin this process straight away. And then by the end of January, and often even by the end of the first week of January, as normality begins to hit again, often that New Year's resolutions just are not fulfilled. And actually, research has shown that only 9% of people who set a New Year's resolution will actually go on to stick to them. So it got me thinking a little bit about our photography and our direction forwards in life, and this idea of finding inner peace. Because one thing I've realized is if I want to do something in life, if I want to explore something, have an experience, learn something, often it's about really getting clear on what it is I want to learn or explore, and really grounding myself and becoming very clear about the why. Because it's easy to say, like, let's just take, for instance, something that happens a lot at the start of a year. People suddenly want to go to the gym and get fit and healthy. And to begin with, they'll get into it, but then they very quickly often lose track of that. And often that can be because they maybe lose track of the why. You know, why did they want to get fit and healthy in the first place? And therefore, when you lose track of that, it can become very difficult to stick to it. So it's the same with our photography and everything as well. So I feel with the beginning of a new year, finding this inner peace and this inner balance within us will help us to get clear on what we want to do this year. Maybe where we want to go photographically, what subjects we want to explore, if we want to try new forms of photography, if we're maybe going to plan a trip away somewhere that we've always wanted to photograph, or simply be opening up more to what's on our doorstep, which I know is something that many people are interested in. You know, I think a lot of people have traveled a lot for photography, but they're now coming back to their local area and opening up to new ideas. And if we think about the seasons, I often find in life, if we really think about what each season represents, you know, I know it, we've got two people today and some others in the group from Australia. So right now it's the summer with you guys. And for us here in the Northern Hemisphere, of course, it's the winter. And during that winter months, it's often about, you know, sort of stepping back, resting, with, you know, really kind of going into introspection so that when spring begins, it's that renewal of energy and being able to go out there and start putting things into motion. So this kind of starting a new year thing, I often find we're still right now, for most of us, well, the Northern Hemisphere, in this process of becoming clear of the year ahead so that when spring arrives, we can really start to embody the things that we want to do. So this month really is just about us finding that peace. And of course, for those in the Southern Hemisphere, this can of course still be done in the summer. There's so much beauty to be explored in the summer months, and so many places you can go to find this feeling. So yeah, it's just about getting us ready really for what's to come, and really getting us clear on what we do want to explore and achieve this year. So I just wanted to go into that to give you an idea of why I thought this was a good theme to explore in January, just to give us that grounding and that clear intention for the year ahead. So just the definition of peace is basically just the freedom from disturbance. And I just want to invite you all to just think for a minute. How often in your life do you feel this freedom from disturbance? You know, the world we live in can be very stimulating, especially in the modern day world. And some people may feel this sense of peace and this freedom from disturbance quite regularly. But I imagine for the vast majority of people, it could be quite a rarity to actually to feel this. But the beauty of this month's theme will be hopefully that it will be able to consciously connect you with the places, the people, the situations, the subjects that bring you that sense of peace, so that you can bring this freedom of disturbance into your life more readily. And this, I feel, is more and more important when we are going through stressful or turbulent times as well. Because this feeling only needs to be felt for, even a few minutes. It's never going to be a constant state of feeling. It's just being able to tap into this for brief periods when we feel we need it, and we need that security and grounding. So this month's theme is just helping us to connect with that a little bit more. And if we think about, I just wanted to delve a little bit more into the world we live in, because while it's clear within the group that there's been many of you that have shared over the past few months, there's been a lot of people in the group who have had loved ones pass away, and who have been going through a lot of other stressful times and dealing with a lot of grief. There's many of you. It's been it's quite a time for a lot of you, and in those situations, it can be very clear how life can be challenging and sometimes overwhelming, and how being able to connect with peace can be a very important way of helping us to navigate those times. But for those of you in the group who maybe haven't experienced that recently, I just wanted to also think about our day-to-day life, and even for those of you who are going through difficult times at the moment, just to think about, on top of that, we also have all these other things that are happening to us, or we're exposed to on almost a daily basis. And of course, depending on where you live, and how you live your life and how busy your local area is, these things will be very varied for many of you. But pretty much all of us have, of course, our mobile phones, and we use the internet, and every day, whether it's on our phones, social media, the TV, the radio, we're being bombarded by advertisements and media trying to grab our attention. We have notifications on our phone going off regularly with messages and social media posts and phone calls. Some people have a lot of people in their life that they may have to navigate and connect with. If you live in a city or a busier town, you might have a lot of noise and traffic. 90% of the foods in our supermarket are processed. And this is all stuff we're putting into our bodies and are exposed to, which can be giving us stimulation that's not always positive. And of course, artificial light. We live in a world now where we use so much light bulbs, light from our phones, our laptops, street lights. And these are all things that are giving us this constant stimulation, which can prevent us from feeling peace. So just to make us a little bit aware of actually the necessity, I feel, to engage with peace in our life, and calm and relaxation. It's more important now in the world that we live in than I feel it ever has been for humanity. And the truth about this sense of peace is, and this I think is something quite empowering, is that nothing can bring you peace but yourself. And it's almost about giving us the conscious realization that we have the power to connect with this. Like I said earlier, even if it's just for a minute or two, when we feel we need to, we have the power, each and every one of us, to bring some peace into our life. And hopefully this month's exercise and what I'll go on to share with you will help to bring this into reality. And sort of ways that we can find peace. There's, we all in the group love nature and going out with our camera, so we can all relate to many of these things. And of course, we all find peace in many ways, but certain ways that we can do this is through things that we explore regularly, such as doing something we love. So photography, many of you are into writing and things as well. We've spoken a lot in recent months about going out into nature and being still, about deep breathing to slow us down, spending that time in nature. We've done exercises, of course, about finding a quiet spot to sit. There's many forms of rest, which we've spoken about. And of course, there's the more traditional, maybe forms that we hear about of finding peace, like meditation. But of course, I appreciate that that's not something that everybody resonates with. But feeling connection can also bring us peace. So whether that's connection with like-minded people, connection with nature, connection with what we enjoy, it all plays into that. And contemplation is a really interesting one as well. And if you are maybe somebody who struggles to find this sense of peace, or you want to engage with it further for this month's exercise, I found an app the other day called Triple Flame Timer, and it's created by somebody who does something called the Gene Keys, which is a little bit like astrology, but it's just the point of this app basically is it encourages you regular intervals throughout the day to stop for 3 minutes, and it'll play beautiful, peaceful music. And you just stop whatever you're doing for just 3 minutes and you go into this state of contemplation. And what that allows you to do is just to feel that peace and that balance. So if anyone is interested in that, like I say, it's called Triple Flame Timer. And I believe you can get it on Android and Apple phones. So just a little idea there for you, might be something to connect with, particularly when maybe you can't get out and you're stuck indoors for whatever reason, just to give you that nice reset. So yeah, peace gives us the chance to pause and reflect before we make our mark on the world. And this is the premise actually of that app. The guy who designed it speaks about if we just stop for 3 minutes every sort of 3 hours or something, or even a couple of times a day, it just gives you a chance to pause and reflect on life and what you're doing before you then move on to your next task, or before you do whatever you may want to look into next. And it also just gives you that breathing space. And this is an image of me from many years ago now, but yeah, it was a beautiful day here with the snow, and I went for a walk up a hill, and I just sat and admired the view, and I guess went into this state of contemplation, and that then resulted in me creating a bank of images of the snow and the landscape. And this is a feeling that I know many of you engage with regularly, but it's taking that time out to, when we're out with our camera or when we're at home, just pausing and reflecting. And it can help us with, the fact it's a new year, and grounding us before we go on to do whatever we feel like doing with the year ahead of us. And just a nice little quote here, peace is always beautiful. So it's something nice, I think, to engage with, as I've mentioned, because, it's a nice thing to feel. So yeah. And now I just kind of want to speak a little bit about photographing your place of peace. And this is like one of the things that I've recommended for this month's challenge, because I think if we can connect with the places in life, whether that place is outdoors or in our homes, if we can connect with that place this month that brings us peace, it just consciously in our mind reminds us as we go forward in life to make an effort to connect with that place when we can do, in order to find that connection and that sense that we may be needing in life. So this month, I just would like to invite you to identify the places that you feel this sense of peace. And we can see from the images that have been shared already that there is a common theme here. Quite often it's either a spot in your home where you can sit and relax each evening with a cup of tea or a book, or you're knitting or whatever it may be. And for many, it's also places in nature. And usually those places involve water, so local ponds and rivers and lakes and the sea and that sort of stuff. And like I say, identifying where your place of peace is just allows you to consciously connect with that place on a regular basis, which won't just help you to photograph the things you love, but it'll also help you to just feel that allow you to have those contemplative moments, which can really help, like I say, with that navigation forward. So I also think photographing your places of peace this month helps you to create a visual representation of that place. And it can also help you when you look back at the images created to consciously explore that place further and what it actually means to you. And just being able to see that visual representation just gives us another way of imprinting it into our minds. And also helps us to consider its importance in our life and to consider, do we connect with this place and the places that make us feel this way enough? Is it somewhere you'd like to connect with more? Or if you do already connect with these places regularly, maybe it'll just make the feeling of that you feel when you're there a little bit more heightened because you're more aware of it. So yeah, it's just a nice way for us to think about those things. And I'd also invite you, as many of you have done, but I also want you to maybe to consider this is finding both of those places. So if you have the time and are able to this month, I'd recommend trying to go out and finding your place of peace in nature, but also to find your place of peace at home. Because, sorry, somebody's just trying to come in. Apologies. Because I think it's nice for us to get out there and to connect with those places in nature that bring us peace, but also to realize that some days, some weeks are so busy that we cannot get out and engage with those places every day, but we can engage with that place at home every day that brings us peace. And even if it's just sitting for a few moments before you go to bed in your favorite chair, or if it's taking half an hour out in the morning to sit in your place of peace and listen to your favorite podcast or do your knitting or drink your favorite hot beverage. Just being able to find that place at home, but also, like I say, in nature gives you two places you can go to feel this, and also two places to explore this month. Just to see, I guess, the difference, but also to ensure that you do have those places in your life, which I feel are, yeah, it's important to have them. So yeah. And yeah, so that's a little bit about why I maybe suggested this idea of finding your place of peace this month and photographing it and connecting with it. But I also wanted to speak a little bit about looking at peaceful photographs, because I think, as well as thinking about our own journeys in life and our own photographic exploration, I think as we explored in last month's theme, there's something so beautiful about looking at imagery and about sharing imagery with others and about the emotions that we feel when we look at photographs. And it also can help us when we look at photographs and we can feel into the emotions of them to then go on to create our own photographs that represent that emotion or that theme. You know, and we can learn just as much from other people's imagery as we can from our own. And one thing I've seen in the group, and and that's been reflected back to all of us, has been the value of us sharing our images, and how when we look at other people's photographs, particularly within a specific theme like this, we can begin to see, what does peace mean to other people? What places are people choosing? What subjects are they choosing? How are they photographing them? And then we can begin to discern for ourselves. Does that photograph fill me with the same peace as maybe the person who photographed it? And we can begin to explore ourselves further, but also gain different ideas and perspectives of what peace may mean to other people, which can, yeah, open up new ideas for ourselves, but also help us to see the diversity and individuality of all of us. But as we've seen, like I say already in the images, there's so much overlap between people's images in terms of water in a lot of peaceful photographs and places, as well as that quiet spot in our home. There's been a few of you that have photographed yourselves in your chairs or your nice spots. And it's just seeing that connection between us all, how we're all so different and we all live in different parts of the world, but the things that we engage with and find peaceful are all very similar. And they're all very basic things as well, which I feel sometimes we may take for granted. So it was just really to bring this into our attention. When we look at any form of art, it evokes emotion within us. And, have we noticed this? And I'm sure each and every one of you have. But it's just about trying to engage with this theme further. And a bit like last month with us, being encouraged to photograph, to print, sorry, our images from the year. It can be worth thinking if you're feeling a lot of maybe dis-ease in your life, this maybe unsettled feeling. One thing I read recently was, ensuring that you're creating a very calming, peaceful feel in your home so it can become like your sanctuary. And sometimes the images we have in our house might not always help us to feel that way. So I just wanted to bring this in really, when you're walking around your home, do the images in your home make you feel that calming, homely feel that you want to maybe feel and experience in your home, or do they not? And also when you're out looking at other people's arts, whether it's in the group or in other places, just becoming aware of how they make you feel. Because not only can it help you to discern what you like in an image, but it can also really help you with creating similar feelings in your own photography. Yeah, so after we've kind of looked at that and we've kind of gained inspiration and we've thought about these things and we've found our place of peace wherever that may be. Of course, part of this month's challenge, or theme, should I say, is also about creating your own peaceful photographs. So as well as photographing your place of peace, I wonder if you can explore actually what makes a peaceful image. And often it's the colors, it's the tones, it's how it is, like I said, it's that emotion that we feel. And when I was looking back through my own images to create this month's presentation, I came across a couple of images from this morning here, which was by a loch in central Scotland about 4 or 5 years ago now. It was a beautiful, calm morning, middle of the summer. I was up at about 4 o'clock down at this lake, and all the mist was rising, and you had this beautiful blue color before the sunrise. And to me, these were the most peaceful photographs I've probably ever created, because there was the blues and that calming tones that we feel in the blue. Of course, they feel very cold as well, but there's something very peaceful about the color blue. The water, of course, is in them. And then you've got the stillness. And you'll see this a lot in images that we may look at and we feel peace. There's always an element of stillness within them. And of course, water is on a very still day is a great way to visually represent this stillness. So if you can this month, if you get a day where there is no wind or very little wind and you notice it's very still outside, maybe go out and see if you can find locations with water, such as a lake or even a puddle, or a pond or the sea, whatever it may be, and photograph that still feeling and see if you can create that sense of peace in your imagery. Because it can just be a lovely thing to engage with, but it also means that you have peaceful images within your collection. And of course, if you wanted to print them out and add them to your wall later on, it may be something worth doing to bring that peaceful image into your home. And I came across this quote And yeah, I think as you all maybe know by now, I really struggle with the word shoot. So I would probably change this to photograph. But what this guy David is saying here, I think is so true when it comes to exploring an emotion like peace. So don't shoot what it looks like, shoot what it feels like. So when you're out creating images anytime, not just for this month's theme, but when you're out there and you're immersed in the environment, or even if you're in your home, feeling that sense of calm and relaxation, when you're creating your images, photograph how you feel rather than what you're seeing. And I know this can be a little bit of a challenge for some people to understand. How do I portray my emotion in my image? But sometimes it's just about stepping back and not thinking too much about the technicalities and just thinking, how am I feeling in this moment? What's making me feel that way? Am I feeling peaceful because of the color? Am I feeling peaceful because of the stillness? Am I feeling peaceful because of the sound? Is it a very still, calm, quiet place? And then is there a way of putting this into your images? So, of course, in this month's theme, when you're out there feeling this sense of peace, is there a way of portraying that in your image, either through the color, through the subject, whatever it may be? And it's about shifting your mindset into that, helping you engage with those feelings rather than your mind. And I think maybe sometimes when you're set a theme, you might feel, oh, I have to find something peaceful, and your mind can get really in it. But it's about just feeling into it. Okay, I feel peace right now. How can I then put that into an image? And many of you are doing this already, but of course it takes practice, and it's something, yeah, to continue exploring on your own journey. So this is basically just what I've just said there, but take time to tune into your environment and find inner calm before you make any images. And I feel this is particularly poignant for this month's theme. And this slide here gives us a bit of an idea how to do this. So, what I've just spoken about photographing how we're feeling rather than what we're seeing. A great way to do this is to detach yourself from making an image. And this week I started my winter mentorship program, which I know a couple of you are of course on. But something that's been coming up time and time again is helping people to actually think about the process of going out there and connecting with the environment and completely detaching themselves from actually creating an image. It's the last thing that you do. So, if you want to adopt a more mindfulness approach or a more approach to engage in your emotions and maybe feeling that wellness aspect, it's about, when you go out there, not going out with any expectations. Detach yourself from the need to make an image and just enjoy the experience. And particularly with the subject of peace, when we go out there, finding that spot that we feel that peace, taking some deep conscious breaths. So by conscious breaths, I mean deep, slow breaths into your belly. And that just allows you to slow down your nervous system and to really help you to connect with your body rather than your mind, which does take practice. And it can be new to many people, but it just really helps with, like I say, engaging with those feelings. And then once you've done that, taking time to look and really see what's in front of you. After we've done the breathing, because it slows you down, you are more likely to stop and to really notice the things around you rather than getting sucked into the photography straight away. You really start to look and you start to see, how is the water moving? What sounds is going on around me? Is there anything that's really catching my eye? Why is it catching my eye? What's moving? What's still? And then, you start to think about, what can I hear? What can I smell? Can I feel the wind against my skin? Whatever it may be, it allows you to engage those other senses, which helps you to tune your whole body into the environment. And then you can really start to create your images because you've slowed down and you've physically created peace within you. So, like that quote at the beginning that I shared with you about finding peace, it's like we have the ability, all of us, to find peace within us. It doesn't come from the outside world. Of course, we can look outside and see things that feel peaceful, but the emotion and that sense of peace comes from within. And the more we can slow down and connect with our bodies and our emotions, the easier it is to feel the peace that we feel in environments that make us feel peaceful. So I hope that that makes sense. It is something that I've been weaving into many of the webinars in recent months, but this might just be a bit of a step more deeper into that, which may not resonate for some people just now, and that's completely fine. Just take what does and leave what doesn't. But it's just something worth trying and just seeing if it can really heighten this experience this month for you. And the final thing I want to speak about, after much inspiration from some of our recent conversations, like I say, both in some of the catch-ups, but also on the community, is addressing causes that we're passionate about. And I know some people in the group have shared stories, of maybe photographers going into nature and exploiting landscapes, trampling over flowers and causing destruction to simply get images. We've also spoken about, local issues, maybe of people not understanding what to do if they come across a baby seal on the beach, for instance, or a stranded animal or an injured animal. And often people may be doing things that are causing the environment more harm than good. And this doesn't just have to apply to nature and photography and environmental and climate issues. This is all about, addressing causes that you're passionate about. And this image here was one that I took a couple of years ago after we had a really bad bout of avian bird flu. And there was just thousands and thousands of gannets basically killed by the virus. And I took this image on the beach, which to me I find quite emotional to look at because I'll always remember this gannet and just seeing all these gannet carcasses lying around and feeling that sense of helplessness for the birds and just wanting to, I guess, raise a little bit of awareness to what was going on. I didn't really know what to do, and there wasn't much I could do, but of course there is little things that we can do as individuals. But I remember finding this bird on the beach and taking a few images of it, and I was recording a YouTube video at the time. And I remember just simply talking about what I'd come across, what I'd heard about it. My ex-partner works at RSPB. He was very much involved with the science and the counting of the dead birds. So I had a little bit maybe more inside knowledge than maybe most of the general public, for instance. So it was about me in that video talking about what was happening, what I was seeing, some of the things that I'd heard from the research that they were doing, and just sharing the message, not necessarily coming from a place of fear or, oh, we have to do this and forcing things on people. It was just in a very peaceful way, just saying, this is what I'm seeing, this is what I'm feeling. And, I'm feeling something about this and I want to do something about it. And in that moment, it was just like, what can I do? And it was about just sharing the information from a calm place and maybe just educating people on what's going on, not necessarily having a solution, but just educating people on it. So they could maybe decide for themselves if it was something that they felt passionate about or concerned about as well. And I think this is, for me, where this idea of peace comes in and why I feel this is very poignant with what we've been discussing and how it ties in with this month's theme. Um, as we said earlier, finding peace must first come from within us before it can be found or shared with others. And we've all been in situations in life where we've been preached to or where people have tried to force their beliefs onto us. And we all know that in those situations, we naturally recoil. We don't want to get involved. We feel threatened. We shut down. So if we have a cause that we're passionate about, it's about, I guess, us understanding it from our own point of view and finding that inner peace in how we feel about it. And then maybe going out there and sharing the knowledge with others in a way that's just, it's very peaceful, it's very authentic, it's simply sharing knowledge, it's not preaching, and it comes from a very different place. But we must first have that sense in ourselves before we can share it with others. So um, as I've put here, people cannot care about what they do not understand, and gentle guidance and education can go a long way. So just because I know there's a few people in the community that are very passionate about certain topics just now, I almost wonder whether this month's theme, and with it being the beginning of a new year, if there is something that you're passionate about and that you want to see changing in the world, or a cause you want to get involved with this year, maybe just engaging with these inner feelings this month will help to maybe help you to find a way forward with what you're passionate about, but may also get you into a nice grounded place to be able to find a way forward of maybe tackling the issues that really speak to you. And again, this is another quote by the famous Albert Einstein: peace cannot be kept by force, it can only be achieved by understanding. And yeah, it's like some of the things we were talking about in one of the posts on the community. Um, sometimes I think we can maybe judge people who have different views to us. But sometimes I think it's just about these people maybe don't always understand the implications of what they're doing and the destruction that they're causing. And that doesn't need to be judged, but it needs that understanding. We need to maybe understand that they maybe don't quite understand, but because they don't understand their impact, then they're not gonna, care about it, but they're also not going to do anything about it if you force them to. I guess it's about gently encouraging other people to go introspectively for themselves so that they can make these conscious decisions on what they feel is right or wrong. But that gentle kind of encouragement and understanding is a good way of helping us to put those messages out there. And another thing I just kind of wanted to end on in relation to this is the idea of bringing people closer together and sharing what we're passionate about through images and exhibitions. So I think we all know the power of storytelling. And if you are passionate about something, maybe if we can create images around that topic to create a visual representation of the problem, then it's a great way of putting that education and understanding out there so people can actually see the impact. And we've all seen this in things like the iceberg images. When we see images of icebergs melting and we see like how the icebergs looked 4 years ago and how they look now, it's a very stark representation of how much things have melted in a short space of time. And it provokes a feeling within us. For people that maybe don't, agree with hunting, again, I've seen some horrendous photographs of, hundreds of animals that have been killed in certain ways. And again, it evokes that feelings within us. And sometimes it can make people think a little bit differently about topics. And we also see this all the time, on TV and in charity adverts from like war-torn countries. We see the devastation, we see the pain, we see the suffering. And, they show us this because, of course, it's something that they we need to be aware of, but it's also to help us get involved with that charity efforts. And the same is true for these smaller localized things. It's about showing things to people in a very visual way. But again, it's about that education perspective as well. So I just wanted to, I guess, empower any of you that feel strongly about something that links to something that you're passionate about, and maybe how you can start thinking about your photography to create visual representation so that maybe this year, if you feel you want to, it's something that you can use your camera as a tool to tell the stories that really matter to you. And so that in a very peaceful and calm way, you can maybe help towards bringing change to those things that really speak to you. I'm just going to end on this quote here, which links in more with the bigger sense of like world peace, for instance, which I know is a huge topic. And that's not what this month is all about. But I found this quote particularly interesting because it ties in with everything that I've shared with you today. So, without inner peace, outer peace is impossible. We all wish for world peace, but world peace will never be achieved unless we first establish peace within our own minds. We can send so-called peacemaking forces into areas of conflict, but peace cannot be opposed from the outside with guns. Only by creating peace within our own minds and helping others to do the same, we can hope to achieve peace in this world. So like I say, I just wanted to end on that, because one thing I really believe is that when we create a very kind of peaceful, positive attitudes, it ripples out, and we see this if we're around somebody who's filled with a lot of anger and resentment, we really feel that and it almost opposes us. But if we surround ourselves with somebody who's peaceful and maybe more contemplative, we feel very comfortable in their company. And again, their energy ripples out onto us. So the more of us that can enter a much more calmer state of peace, not only do we feel good for that, but it'll also have an impact on everybody else that we come into contact with as well. So yeah, this month's theme's got probably quite a lot to it. And I appreciate some of the topics I've gone into are maybe a bit deep and maybe a bit deeper than maybe you were expecting. But as I said in the beginning, I feel it was a chance this month to evoke some thought into you as we begin a new year and as you make some decisions on what you want to do, to achieve, to explore, both photographically but also within your personal life this year. So yeah, that's there we go. That's the end of the January webinar. Yes, I didn't know if that was going to last an hour, but we've almost made it. So yeah. Has anybody got anything they would like to say or share before we say goodbye?
Yeah, I'd just like to say something, Kim, because when you first announced this, it really meant something to me because all my life I wouldn't have classed it as inner peace, but when you first said that, because when I was younger, doing all my athletics, cycling and running, I always remember I used to call it clear my mind and not think about anything. Because people would often say to me, when you're out on your bike for 3 hours and you're out on a long run, what do you think about? And I used to say, nothing. And people would always say, what do you mean nothing? I said, just nothing. Because I've not got the stresses of family or life or work. I'm just out there doing what I'm doing. And I used to always just call it clearing my mind and not think of any. And people could never understand it. How can you not think of anything? I said, well, because if you're doing something that doesn't involve any other impacts or influences, if you're just out, it could be going for a walk, it could be, like you said earlier, just sitting on a beach or just doing something, and it's very powerful, and it's been part of my life. And when you said that this new challenge theme, I thought, this is just great because I've kind of done it all my life. But I used to always just call it I'm not thinking about anything. I'm just clearing my mind. But it's all the same thing, isn't it? You know, it's all one and the same thing. But you know, and now into photography, you know, I get a different, you know, sense of inner peace now, you know, I guess. But it's all intellectual. It's been part of my adult life, this thing, but I've never called it inner peace. But you know, it's always just been just something that's resonated with me, you know, and it's amazing what you can do. And you don't have to have a camera with you, you know. I've done this, you know, as I said, all my life without even thinking about photography. But now I'm in photography. It's just an extension to what you actually do and feel when you're out. And you could be, like you say, and it could be anywhere, can't it? You know, it's all about how you take that on yourself.
Yes, yeah, very true, Brian. Yeah, and it's good you mentioned the cycling there because yeah, I mean, this can be done, and of course we're talking about photography in the community, but this can be done in many ways, and
Mhm.
it's about finding, you know, what is it that you enjoy engaging with that can bring you those moments. So yeah, thank you for sharing, Brian.
Not at all.
Mhm. Brilliant. Well, if nobody else has got anything they'd like to say, I'd just like to thank you all for coming along today. And yeah, I just hope it's given you all something to consider and contemplate for the month ahead. And I very much look forward to seeing what other images you come up with this month. And maybe if you found this thought-provoking, you know, maybe after you've had a couple of hours or a couple of days to think about it, you know, maybe posting some stuff on the group about your thoughts might be quite nice as well to hear how people have, you know, thought of this theme as well. So yeah, just thank you all again. And I'll hopefully see some of you at the catch up next week. But for now, I wish you a lovely remainder of the week and yeah, enjoy this month's theme.
Thanks, Kim.
Excellent. Thanks, Kim. Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, bye.